Good morning and welcome to Stivers Homestead. I am Zach. So, first things first, the Bengals lost. If you've been around a while, you know I'm a huge Bengals fan. This was a great year for the Cincinnati Bengals to make it to the Super Bowl. Had a tough loss, you know. It was one of those things that I'm just happy we got there and we'll be back. Most importantly, Joe Burrow wasn't hurt. Thank goodness. Okay, got that out of the way. Yeah, I shaved because it's over. No reason to keep that going anymore. But today I wanted to talk to y'all because we have been so focused on animals here lately, and most farms are in the winter. It's a big time to be able to do a lot of maintenance. It's time to get a lot of stuff done, breeding, kidding, stuff like that, which we still have kidding to come, so stay tuned. But now it's time to start shifting the focus to the garden because it's about time to start all of our summer crops. If you're building raised beds, now's the time to do it when it's starting to warm up just a tad and the days are getting a little bit longer. And that's exactly where we are in the process. We're completely changing our gardens up this year. We are not doing what we did last year, and we're having to build brand new ones out of raised beds. And it's a lot of work, but we're gonna do it together. So the first things first about raised beds. What material are you gonna use to hold soil? Now that's a key point that I want you to remember. You are just holding dirt. Do not try to make this too elaborate. Do not try to get in over your head, and do not try to break an arm and a leg on what you're gonna put around the dirt, because the dirt itself is expensive enough. Couple things that I've showed you how to do. You can go to a lumber yard and ask for their firewood bundle or their rough cut lumber. Most all those are around 10 to 12 inches in thickness, and if you need to know, 10 inches is what the minimum you need to be able to grow basically any plant you want to. We usually shoot for 12, but 10 is all you need. So when you're thinking of height, that's what it is. You don't have to go 24 inches, and the more you do that, you gotta remember that's more soil that you're gonna be putting in there. So 10 to 12 inches. That rough cut lumber is a great idea to use for a cheap budget. The second, fencing picket boards. If you go to Lowe's, they come in pine or cedar. Cedar's obviously gonna last you a little longer. It's about a couple dollars more per board, or you can get the pine picket fence and treat it, which is what we did. Treating it, you can do it by burning it, or you can do an organic natural oil like linseed oil. That's something that we use often. That won't have any issues of going into your soil. And really nowadays, most of the stuff's outlawed on what they put on treated wood, so you really don't have to worry about anything leaching in there that you wouldn't want to on that spot. But this year we're doing something totally different, and it was free. So our awesome friend here at the new property, Mr. Jody French from French's Construction, he's the man that has built all of our fencing here, helped us get the water lines down. Well, it's always good to have contacts locally. So Jody is a construction guy. He works, you know, primarily with fencing, but he can do anything. Y'all talked to me praise about him before. Well, he calls me up and said, hey man, I need a dump spot for an old fence, a fence that is getting torn down and we need to get rid of it. You want it? Yes. So here is the fence. And how awesome is this? I mean, some of them aren't in the greatest shape. You know, we got some cracks going here, but overall the wood is fantastic. It's just weathered, but it's thick. It's nice and solid. It's got a great inside, and it'll work perfect for a raised bed. So those boards are 6 inches wide, so I'm just doubling up to make my 12. Now, what else do you need to make a fence? Fence post. So I was also able to get all the fence posts. Now, a lot of these are 4x4s, not your round normal fence posts that you would expect. But for what I need, that's really great to have 4x4s. They're a little bit easier to get into. But look at this, y'all. Absolutely fantastic wood. I just got to unscrew the little pieces that are in there, and that is my braces for the raised bed. So I know a lot of y'all are like, well, I don't have a Jody. I don't have one of those guys. I know, but you can source stuff. You can talk to people, you can ask questions. If you see a bunch of pallets laying around, you can ask the company and be like, hey, can I have those? More times than none, they're like, yeah, I'll take them. And they're not going to charge you. You got to be resourceful. So you want to see what those look like as a raised bed? Here they are. So this is a 5x5 bed that you're looking at, and all I did was put the four 4x4s, cut them up at 12 inches height each one, and then I put the 2 boards on it, making a big box. Now these are going to be herb beds, so we got them all lined up here, and we're just getting started, but everything on this back side are going to be herb beds. Now, 5x5 is not your ideal size of a bed. It's kind of hard to reach in the middle. But because these are herb beds, and what I mean by that is we're gonna put an herb in it and let it completely take over these beds. And that's what Jen's big on, making her tinctures, making her medicine, different stuff like that. So we're gonna have like comfrey, we're gonna have calendula, we're gonna have basil, we're gonna have the different stuff all the way down the line of all of her medicinal herbs that she uses to give them a permanent home, unlike what we've had before where we're having pots, we're moving them around. This allows those things to go dormant and come back up and spread as much as they want to in a full 5x5 bed. So I think that's really cool. We're gonna have about 10 of them down this back side of this part of the property. And if you're wondering where we are, there's our house. This is the side that the dogs used to run on and where our apple trees are. I'll get an explanation on why here in a minute. But we are in process of building all the herb beds. Out here in all the open are going to be our long beds that are probably going to be 4 foot wide, and well, TBD on how long, because we have a lot of distance here and we got plenty of wood to do so. But we started on the back for one reason and one reason only. When you're doing raised bed gardening, you're gonna have to get the soil in the beds, right? So we have learned in the past, don't build all your beds because it gets a little difficult to maneuver around with a wheelbarrow or a tractor to get the soil in. So we're gonna be building all the backs and then one long, and then at that time, hopefully our soil will be here, and then we can start filling them up. Once we filled them up, we will then move on building the other long beds that we have. Now I am gonna have it set up to where I can get my tractor in here, so that we're gonna lose a little bit of bed space because I want haul space for the tractor. That'll help us in the future when we need to add compost on top or mulch or whatever that is, we can maneuver in. But when you're filling completely up from scratch, you really want plenty of room to maneuver, if you know what I'm saying. And for these beds, all of them, we'll be burning them. I'm not even gonna attempt to say the name of it. But basically you give them a scorch on the inside and the outside if you want, but primarily the inside where the soil is gonna touch. And that'll help seal it so it doesn't rot the wood out. So they may look old, but y'all, they are in such great shape and you can't beat free. And I don't think I can emphasize this enough. If you haven't learned from the channel, obviously we like the pretty things, but the prettiness is the plant itself and the plants that are growing up, not your raised bed. So yeah, it might be cool to see this nice raised bed rolling in there, but when it's in the middle of summer, everybody's looking at your plants and what you want to grow. And our primary focus is growing food, not having pretty beds. So we love the look. We know it's not for everybody, but I didn't care what it looked like because it was free and it's good wood. So coming soon and videos near you, this is gonna really start filling up and not look like grass. By the way, our apple trees are right there. You just can't see them because it's winter and they just look like sticks. And if you're new and you were curious, this is what the pine boards look like as raised beds. So they're a little flimsier, so you have to do a little extra work here, but not much. You basically just put your two on top, just like you did before, and then you need to put one in the middle every so often, every few feet, just help for any bowing once you get the soil in there. These are 2 cherry bushes and these are 2 blueberry bushes here. And then here's Jen's kitchen garden, which is all pine boards as well, that we'll be having. So just another idea if you're curious on how to do this. These are so big because of the sloping and we was trying to make them as level as possible, but I would never do 24 inches. But if you have to, we put a bunch of logs in the bottom of this for horticulture kind of style, but in raised bed gardening. But you put all those logs in the bottom to take up some room. That allows you to not have to put so much soil on top, and that soil will rot that wood down and give you all kinds of good nutrients back in and turn into dirt. So with all those beds over there, we're still gonna need a lot of soil, which is, like I said, the most expensive part. And if you're trying to cut costs, the cost cutting should be in the wood, not the soil. You get bad soil, you get hot compost, whatever it may be, you get it real cheap. There's a chance that you might have a failure of a garden. And that's one thing we don't want, right? Then right here, the guys came to clear a bunch of trees around the electrical lines in our easement. And I was like, hey man, when you get done with that truck, why don't you drop all that mulch right down here with me? And he did. They were very awesome to do so. Another free piece that's gonna help us fill up our beds. And we're gonna use this on top for 2 reasons. One, to help fill it up so we don't need as much soil. We'll probably do about 10 inches of dirt and then 2 inches of the mulch. But the mulch on top of your soil also helps from splashback. Splashback is when you don't have anything on top of the soil and it rains and all that dirt splashes back up on your plant. That could give you disease within your plant and making it struggle to live. So if you have a little mulch, that helps hold moisture and stops that splashback from coming up. So win-win for us here. I love it. I hope they bring us more because I can use plenty of mulch. And one other thing that's gonna have to happen is we're gonna have to move my greenhouse. It's way over here because the garden used to be over here. That's now cow pasture. We're gonna have to move the greenhouse over there. That probably won't be this year project. We'll probably still start it here and do all that good stuff. But maybe next fall, next winter, we'll move it to where it needs to be. All right, and in the greenhouse, everything looks a little rough at the moment because we froze again, but they are all fine. These are cabbages and broccolis that we have going on. Our strawberries over here in the green stalk, and then we need to get that one planted. But these are all of our strawberries. They're actually starting to come back, which is exciting. And down here are all the babies that we started. Some are doing better than others. Basically, it's like whoever's the strongest will survive kind of thing around here. We planted plenty, and then those will be going in here probably this week because we're finally starting to warm up enough, and the shock shouldn't be too bad. So to answer kind of the biggest question is, why did we move the garden from over here where we had it last year, that's now cow pasture, to over there beside the house? Two reasons. One, this is connected all the way up to the old barn, so it's easy to move the cows around the pastures over here. And secondly, the garden went unattended too much last year because it was too far from the house. So when you're garden planting, it's very important to think about that. At our old place, it was right out our back door. We love that. We love being in the garden. You know, we don't want a backyard, we want a garden. And so having it closer to our house over there in a nice big spot to where even if you're on the porch, you can see it, is a good thing, because the more you got your eyes on your plants, the healthier they're going to be, because you're going to be able to see bugs, you're going to be able to see yellowing, browning, all those different things from a distance without having to be in the middle of it every time. So down below, I'll throw you some how-to videos, greenhouse, the pine board raised beds, and then stay tuned and I'll show you how we're doing these old fence boards that we had gotten for free, and we'll start building those up. But the primary piece that I want you to take from this video is there are some beautiful, beautiful raised beds out there. And if you want to build them, but it's going to cost quite a bit. And if you're trying to do this on the cheapest round that you possibly can, don't spend the money on the wood, spend the money on the dirt. Get some really, really good amended, composted soil that is black magic and not some topsoil, because that's not really the purpose here. So don't say I don't have that guy or I can't find that. You're just not really looking real hard. This is the first time we've ever gotten mulch, and we've asked from a bunch of people over our time of gardening. You just got to keep asking, and you never know when you're just going to get fortunate enough to have someone say, yep, I'll drop that off to you. So keep being resourceful, keep finding the stuff that you need to be able to do this without breaking your bank, because the whole point is to eat organic, non-GMO food, not have the prettiest raised bed that you've ever seen. You can do this. Come along with us. We'll take you along with us so you can get some ideas from it. And we hope you all have a great gardening season coming up. We have plenty to do, crops that are about to be starting, beds to be built, dirt to fill up. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to down below. We love y'all. Bye.